Bingo bango.
We are live.
Hello, hello.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Am I in need? Are we still doing henny setting? Am I in need of a drink? I'm sure you are too.
I absolutely am.
Now, in case you haven't noticed,
I'm back.
The green wiggle to my right is back. He is not very surprise guest. And we what are we doing today, boys and girls?
Martini tasting.
Oh,
How exciting.
How exciting. Why are we doing martini tasting?
Well, somebody mentioned it apparently in one of our previous gin tastings, and we realised that we actually, despite running a gin group where people often drink their gin in martinis, we hadn't actually done any martini things for the gin group. So it seemed like the right thing to do, but it's also a good part of the reason that I've come back today because Vivian and Ross didn't do it, but during 2020 we actually ran some martini tastings.
We did.
For corporate groups and stuff. So
I specialised in doing Shiraz gin was my...
We all took our little
yes.
parameters, and I said me and Eva did martinis.
Yeah.
So
here we are.
I did all the red wine and white wine.
Yeah, and everything else. So yeah,
we've all taken one for your team.
Now has everyone been sent?
Yes, everybody has
Vermouth
been
as well?
sent. Everybody has been sent a sample of each of these.
Beautiful.
And we have been told them to provide lemons and olives. You'd be pleased to know we've got ourselves new olives. We have found some archival olives. What we call them?
Yeah, archival. Yeah,
archival olives.
I'm sure that some of them are still
left over from the wig cellar. And,
there's some really interesting smoked olives which do make a good martini, but alas,
are they in the fridge?
Yeah,
I'll take them home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so we're gonna do it slightly differently today because it's obviously a martini is a cocktail. We're not gonna make 3 different martinis because otherwise, A, it would take forever, and B, it will be, well, I might not be able to walk afterwards, but
you can do.
But you can do whatever you please. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start tasting the gins, talking about like sort of building what kind of martini you want for that gin.
Well, kids, I just noticed we've got Liz on, but nobody else. So I think we might talk for another 5 minutes until we get a few more people on.
Easy.
Okay.
I can do that.
We can do that. Hello, Liz, and thank you for turning up on time.
Oh, I love that.
We love that.
I haven't run one of these in a while, so I'm just raring to go, ready for a Thursday afternoon drink.
Well, there might be, after some martinis in the day I've had, I think there might be a bit of drinking had tonight. I think that's a serious request.
I've got the night off work, so I'm happy as Larry.
Exactly. All right, we'll keep an eye on the roll call. Let's see who else has turned up.
Ian's there. Hello, Ian.
Hello, Ian.
Hello, Ian.
Woohoo.
Good to see Ian's here.
It is good to see Ian. He's here. And how's the new business going, Ian? I'm excited. We can promote it. I don't know who to, but we could promote it. Yeah, that's a good idea. You should send us a little ad and we'll put it on the Wig Seller Facebook page and see who sees it.
I'm feeling very colour coordinated with the gins today.
You are.
They're all kind of
Well, while we're talking about things like that, I was thinking about it's been such an interesting roller coaster with our live videos and stuff. Like we've had, sometimes we get 10 and sometimes we get 50 and sometimes we get 2,000. One time we had 20,000. Like
views. Yeah,
I know. It's
kind of it's a mystery.
And I've kind of been analysing what we did different on the times when we got lots of people, and it was like not a great deal.
No.
Except some be silly.
The direction the wind's blowing, maybe.
We did our first corporate live tasting in a while last week.
Yeah, the week
before. And
got a room full of people.
Ross, not match fit. Started talking, stopped.
Stop talking.
Stopped talking.
Did you run out of oomph for us?
Fortunately,
you were there, yeah.
And I just
market some stuff.
Yeah, I
started yelling.
I ran out of yap. It was just like going now.
Lisa,
what do I say now?
Oh, Lisa's here. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Lisa.
I have had coffee with Lisa while she had lunch this week. I've had coffee with Lisa while she had coffee this week. I've had discussions with Lisa about how she was falling off the wagon at the end of Dry July. So I've seen a lot of Lisa.
Oh, that's good.
And Victoria, who's stopped being so grumpy. She has more clothes than I do, Victoria. Anyway, can we start now? The others can catch up. Right. Hello, Alex.
No, woohoo! Now we've got lots of people.
Oh, Ian got COVID. Oh, bugger. I'm sure martinis cure COVID. I'm absolutely positive.
To be completely honest, when I had COVID...
Hi, Mel.
Hi, Mel.
When I had COVID, I did drink a couple martinis, and they did, in fact, make me feel a little bit better. So...
Okay, the only poorer we have is... Contrepora.
That looks like a chook.
It's
Or
a
a toucan.
toucan.
Oh, it's a toucan. Why did Contra have toucans?
I don't know.
No. Anyway.
They do a promotional product each season, and I think they're getting more and more sort of tropical inspired because of things like, obviously, margaritas are their biggest use.
Okay, so we are starting with the NB Samphire. Now, we have actually done a tasting of this
A couple of times, I'm sure.
relatively recently, haven't we?
Yeah, but I don't think we did it for gin club though.
Yeah, we did that. We did, I'm sure.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
We
because
did
that's how Alex ordered that.
green botanical gins
No, I think we
Olave?
did Maritime, and we've done Maritime.
and maritime gins.
Anywho,
Anyway,
The other thing is it makes great martinis.
It does.
Now
And-
let's start with for the new people, which we have new people on.
yes, so
You only want a little bit. You don't want lots. We're not. This is tasting. We're doing. We're not sort of getting smashed.
we're not drinking.
yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't you worry.
Just a little bit. Just
Yeah.
a little taste.
In fact, that's
Also,
actually,
if you're receiving a 100ml bottle, if you pour it and then mix it with something that doesn't work, you've then ruined however much you've poured.
Yeah.
So if you only pour a little bit and you do something, mix it with something you don't like, you haven't wasted it. So
Oh,
Yes.
and,
So-
a word. Hang on, and a word from our sponsor. There's three little 100ml bottles there that each of sort of 3 to 4 star drinks. If you drink all 3 bottles, you will be smashed.
yeah,
Yes.
for
Which-
sure.
it's
So
all
just
your
take it
responsibility.
easy.
But let's do the tasting first before we get smashed. So NB is one of our favourite gins. We discovered NB at Vin Expo in Hong Kong. Back when you could go to Hong Kong, back when people didn't
Must
live in
have
their own
been
homes.
2018.
18?
No, it's the one before that. 16.
16. Wow. Okay.
No, before that.
2015.
Because we got it before.
Anyway,
Doesn't matter.
and we imported it, so that we are the only place in Australia you can get it. And we are actually, Ross and I are going to go to NB in September, next month. Yoo-hoo!
Next month.
Next
That
month.
is soon.
Oh, yes. While we make that note, the website will be down in September because we won't be here.
Why will the website be down?
Because
Oh,
we'll
no,
turn, off
buying.
we turn off the shopping
The-
cart.
No, the shop will be off.
Yeah.
The website will still be there. But the shopping cart will be down. So if you need anything, order now. We will be closing it probably in the 3rd week of August.
That being said, we
no,
should still be
close.
accessible
Right,
by email if you need to contact us about something. But that being said,
Anyway, okay, all good. So NB stands for North Berwick, which is
From the North Berwick Distillery.
from the North Berwick Distillery, and North Berwick Distillery is, spoiler alert,
in North
in
Berwick.
North Berwick, which is
Scotland.
about half an hour east of Edinburgh by train, and is right on the
beach.
coast. On the coast, which is why Samphire, which is why it goes so
And
well with.
The other reason we picked it today is because we were talking about what gins we were going to do. Obviously, when I've done some martini tastings with gins, and we've used multiple different gins, and there's sorts of little flavour profiles we look for in martini gins. It's either things that are really citrusy or things that are really herbaceous. The really good thing about Samphire, which is a coastal succulent, is that it's obviously a green plant, but it brings sort of citrusy notes.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a no-brainer because it's
Yeah.
also the third character that it brings is sort of that saltiness, which is
Always
often
good
what
idea.
you kind of like associate with like a salty, briny martini.
So the trick is to stick your nose in and have a good whiff. Now, what's interesting about gin is often that you smell. It depends which gin it is, but often you'll smell just the alcohol first, which is one of the reasons you swirl it, have a bit of a sniff, and then see how it goes.
You don't need to swirl spirits like you do wine to like open up the aroma. We tend to swirl it a little bit just to knock off that
Knock off
initial
the ethanol.
ethanol smell.
But the other thing you'll find too is that you'll often get juniper completely forward, and you'll be able to smell almost nothing but juniper. With this one, I can actually smell some of that green.
It's like really.
Samphire doesn't smell of anything, but
It does. There's it's that it's
pig face sort of smell.
Yeah, it's salty water sort of smell,
Yes.
but it's got that sort of really light grassiness.
Yeah.
That sort of,
Anyway, but you can smell that as well as the juniper, I think.
and it's also got a citrusy note to it, which is quite nice. But that That's quite prevalent in NB gin anyway.
It
That
is.
lemony sort of.
And it is very lemony. We've talked in the past about the fact that a lot of gins are actually more orangey than lemon, for those of us
Or
who...
limey or whatever.
Yeah, for those of us who grew up thinking just gin and lemon. But
These guys do use a fair amount of lemon peel from what I understand.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to take a little sip and then we'll move on to martini.
So you'll sometimes find, if this is your first drink of the day, and no judgment if it isn't, that you just get the alcohol flavour on your tongue. That's something we noticed when we did that. We forgot. When we do a live tasting the corporate tasting a couple of weeks ago. Everybody went, ugh. You go, no. That's just the first thing. Don't panic. That's not what it tastes like all along. So have a little sip. Get it your sort of palate coated with a bit. Sometimes have a glass of a bit of water, and
I find once you've had the first sip and you've got it on the palate,
You're
the
right.
palate's sort of done its initial shock.
yeah. Then what you taste is what the flavour that's actually in the gin.
So now I can taste the gin. Ooh, ooh.
And I tend to I put it on the front of my tongue because the ethanol doesn't hit as hard on the front of the tongue.
And see, now this time, I can get juniper, and I get juniper at the back, but citrus and herbaceousness at the front. Is that what you're getting? It's nice. So,
I'm going to put a block of ice in this
okie dokie.
and chill it down. Now, obviously, martinis themselves we don't generally serve
Put ice in.
with ice in the drink, but for the sake of the fact that
Nice.
Yep.
I want the gin cold.
What you can do when you make a martini is to put ice in the glass and swirl it around. That can get the glass cold.
Yeah, and chill the glass.
And then tip the ice.
Or keep your glass in the fridge
Yes.
as well.
We found recently, though, I think we need a Vermouth fridge.
I couldn't agree more.
There's just so much Vermouth you can hardly fit wine in there. Don't worry about the food.
Yeah,
Food.
I've noticed that there's a good tray in my fridge full of vermouth. 'Cause you need a vermouth for every occasion.
You do.
A vermouth for every martini.
The ice actually brings out the oiliness.
It does.
And it calms down the alcoholiness.
Now, we've got our vermouth in a little glass with a teaspoon, just so that we can add it sort of a drop at a time. And the reason we do this is not necessarily just for flavour, it's mostly starting off with texture. Because vermouth brings oiliness that straight spirits can't necessarily hold.
Do we want to taste the Vermouth on its own?
I'm not going to. It tends to coat the palate because it's quite thick and viscous.
Yeah, no way. So, do we want to talk a bit about the Vermouth that we've been giving everybody?
So we chose
The Olave?
Olave. So obviously a Spanish vermouth. I really like Spanish vermouths for martinis. They tend to be they really, really like that oiliness, which is really good for where you want texture.
Is anybody on chatting?
Yeah, everyone's on shaggy. Yeah.
So now you can start to see where the martini might go.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then part of the reason we start with the drop is so that, you can always add more. And I tend to add mine, sometimes when I'm building up, working out what I want, sometimes I'll do garnish first and then vermouth. Sometimes I do vermouth first and garnish.
Oh, that really highlights the vermouth, doesn't it? Yum.
And the gin, yeah.
Okay.
I was talking to somebody today who said they really only like vodka martinis, which is fine. But I don't think Vermouth and vodka are as good together as Vermouth and gin.
I think you've got to have a really good... I don't understand the point of having a really extra dry vodka martini.
It's just
Because
vodka.
it's just vodka. Whereas something like a extra dry gin martini, you're having less vermouth because you're focusing on the flavours in the gin.
Yeah.
And the flavours in the gin go
Agreed.
with the vermouth and etc.
Agreed.
And we
think
haven't
that's delicious.
chosen extra dry vermouth. We've chosen a Blanco or a white vermouth. Just because...
But it's not sweet either. It's just
No.
No.
not sweet or dry. It's just white.
It brings a lot more texture.
Yeah.
And they're extra dry. Are really good with certain gins but not with others. And they can be quite distracting for really flavourful, interesting gins.
Yeah.
So is this like an olive or a lemon situation?
I'm thinking a lemon
I think it's a
situation.
lemon situation. Ross and I agreed on a garnish.
Oh well, must be time to get married then.
Oh, okay. Calm down. That's an old gag.
I'm just going to do a little bit because we've only got a little bit of gin.
So you're just taking it off with a peeler and then squishing it so you release some of the oils. We're not doing anything fancy.
No.
Oh, ah.
Oh, it smells so good.
More lemony now. Whee!
Oh, that's made my Thursday right there.
Yeah.
Bingo.
See, I think a lot of people are really obsessed with like olives in martinis and making them really dirty and all that sort of stuff. But I think when you've got a really oily vermouth, you get
You
the
don't need
richness
it.
from the vermouth,
Okay.
and you get the oil, the sort of citrusy flavors from the lemon, and those two flavors meet the gin in the middle.
Yeah.
I think we're obsessed with really briny, olivey martinis because we're not putting any vermouth in to do the heavy lifting.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Then we just fill it with olive brine. But I do love a dirty martini. So,
Yeah. I'm not the king.
so how do we feel with it with lemon? Is that
I think that's the right thing.
Yeah, I think it's the goods.
My ice has
I
got
like
stuck.
it.
that's yummy.
But this is only experimenting with the way this guy might work. I mean, ordinarily we would have ditched the ice way before.
True.
We'll make a martini at the end.
Yeah.
So don't you worry. We are going to make a proper martini.
Okay.
So, but this is about like when you ask for a martini, people order the normal martini. That go to a bar, order a martini how they like it, and the bartender's going to use whatever gin
Yeah.
Oh,
he
good.
feels like, or if you ask for a specific gin, they'll use that specific gin. But everyone gets used to the way that they like their martini, and then change the gin. Whereas actually, if you
Change the gin, you need to change everything.
if you kind of like
Yeah.
treat it like like when we do gin tastings, like every gin has a different garnish. I think every gin has a different way to make a martini. That
Yeah.
will really
Yeah.
highlight it
Yeah.
or do different things to it.
Exactly. Agreed. I think that's delicious. But I'm not going to drink the rest of that right now because
Yum.
there's more. Now, this is one of our favourite gins. This is the little Taylor and Smith. Do you need the pourer? I think you're probably better off without, to be honest.
Probably out. I love these beautiful, beautiful bottles, but
They're too small.
500 mils of this does not go a long way. Particularly when we run our tastings and most gins come in
750s.
700 or 750.
Now this is a seriously coastal gin because one of the things that they use in the making of it is
Abalone
abalone
shells.
shells.
Yeah, this is from Tasweege.
Which I think is really interesting because things like martinis are often drunk with things like oysters.
Mm.
So I thought
Yeah, that's a good idea.
when they first released this and they said abalone shell, lots of people were like, what, why? I don't get it.
I do.
But it's like,
Oh, and you can smell it. That is that sort of seashells salty smell is absolutely the first thing you get. It's way ahead of the juniper, don't you reckon? Oh, I'm just gonna drink that.
yeah.
Oh, that's a bit oilier than
This has a really oily texture, which is yummy.
It's oilier than the Samphire.
It's actually
Nice.
surprisingly not as salty.
No.
No.
You'd expect it to be more salty than that. Not as salty as the...
You can smell the salt, but it doesn't taste salty.
Cool.
Sorry about that.
Splash everywhere.
That's what we have the table nappy for.
I will say I've drunk this gin on the rocks quite a few times.
Yeah,
And it's one of those gins that
I reckon. Oh,
some gins just aren't made
so
to be
good.
drunk on the rocks, but
This is.
it's such a rich, oily texture.
It's a maritime gin. Drink it on the rocks.
And I think that didn't think that. The other reason it works so well is one of the other botanicals that they use is pine. Which
I get the pine in the middle. It's kind of like...
Yeah. I get
the
that.
pine it doesn't work with some garnishes and some tonics and stuff. It just goes a bit too piney. But what I really like is that when you have it on the rocks, you get that the texture from this is kind of like that sap. Gives that richness.
Yes, I get it.
Oh, I'm going to apologise to Alex now. Your bottle of gin is sitting on my desk in my office.
Very useful place for it to be, Alex.
I know, and I was charging around the other day delivering everything, and then it wasn't until I got home and everyone's going, "Where's the thing?" I'm looking at it going, "It's sitting here on my desk." So, as I
Tomorrow?
yeah, maybe, and probably tomorrow. Yeah.
Anyway,
There.
so
I'm thinking this is lemony. I haven't done it with Vermouth yet, but
I'm going to add a dash of... Oh, I've already got it half about.
Yeah, very good. Yep.
See, this is the thing, is sometimes you can't tell the garnish until you add the vermouth.
oh, that's delicious.
It is such a beautiful gin, though.
It's so well made. It's so well structured.
Mm.
Oh.
It is.
Oh. See, it's really interesting. That's brought out some of the citrus notes to me.
Mm. So you're going lemon.
No. I'm thinking, like, this is already bright.
Mm.
And I think maybe
An olive.
I'm going to be
an
more.
olive.
Oh.
Just because it's not as...
Yeah.
Actually, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and an olive too. I'm with the olive.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep,
if it's already
yep.
got brightness,
I think this might be...
But it's not salty.
I think this might be a slightly wetter martini than normal.
well, that's the thing though. It's like, if you need more vermouth,
I suppose once we get the
So good.
once we get the
I think
olive
it's
in
good
this,
just
we
like
can
that.
start describing all the different terms that go with martinis. Like we just said, that's a bit wetter and that's a bit drier and that's a bit dirty and la la la.
Okay.
So,
that's...
well,
I'm actually going to...
Use your fingers.
use your fingers.
No, I want to take the top two off.
Oh, because they're dry.
Yeah. That's the other thing. If you use lots of olive brine in your martinis, you'll quickly learn that the top couple of olives,
Dry out.
you've got to eat them, otherwise they're going to dry out.
That's an excuse.
Would you like an olive?
I would, thank you.
Have we all agreed on this? This is the first time this has ever happened. We've never all agreed on anything, ever.
No, look, I think there's common denominators though, you know.
The only thing we
Oh,
ever
We all
agree
like
on-
vermouth.
You've already got one.
Oh, the only thing we ever agree on is it's time for a drink. We never like,
No, we all like vermouth, so naturally we like our martinis with...
Now, what's interesting is that I find often when you put an olive in, that's all you can smell. But I can still smell that gin around the Vermouth.
That green piney flavour comes through in a nice way.
Mm.
Alright.
Oh, yeah. That's a bit rock star. That
It's still
goes
big,
so
it's
nicely
still
with
big
the
and juicy,
texture.
but it's still
Yeah,
not
that's
too
yum.
bold.
That's
Yep.
delish.
woohoo!
It hasn't become an olive in a glass with other stuff,
No.
which is my problem with a lot of martinis with olives in, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I don't like dirty ones particularly.
I like dirty martinis, but you've got to just be there knowing that that's
What you want.
what you're there for.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Yum.
Woohoo!
Numero,
Well, then now it's good though, because now we've got a lemon one and...
now, numero trois.
Are we already at number 3? I'm just enjoying this. I've only just got here.
We've all only just got here.
Party's just started.
Yes, but if we don't,
See, now I'm going to...
you're going to do a compare.
Compare the pair.
Compare and contrast.
It's gin and vermouth. But that they are two completely
radically
different
different.
drinks. Yeah.
I hope that I would know if that was served to me in a bar that they were different gins. I would.
Yeah.
You wouldn't miss that.
No, I don't think so either. But that's why I think it's key to
Nice.
pick your winner, you know?
Now, this one.
Beautiful.
We often tell everybody that we just went to the new Four Pillars. Did I say that last time?
Oh, no.
Maybe. No. We've just been to the new Four Pillars distillery up in Hillsville, and if you haven't been, go. It's pretty groovy. And they had really nice things too. It's very loud and sort of over the top, which is kind of cool. And they had really yummy things to eat. So we had
their
really
food's
nice nibbles. It was good. Anyway, we did a tasting of a few things we hadn't really had in any detail before. The Four Pillars olive leaf gin is what we often describe as a martini in a bottle.
Well, it's kind of funny because if you look at what they would do, what's happening at Four Pillars a couple years ago before this came out, they attempted to release or created the idea of a bartender series. And the bartender series started off with the spiced Negroni gin.
Yeah.
And then was going to go into being called releasing a martini gin. They decided not to do that and really name it after its botanical so that people understood that it wasn't just olives, because they originally, when they were testing this out, they distilled it with olives and they couldn't quite get what they wanted because obviously olives are like a fruit and they have a really complicated pH salty thing, and when you like heat them up in a still, then you've cooked the olives.
That's not a plan.
So to put it through a still, it's got to get to 70, 80 degrees. And then you've just got cooked olives and you lose all of that natural green...
Tastes like pizza.
Yeah, you lose all that natural green flavour that you actually want from a martini.
Yeah.
So so obviously they use the olive leaf. So that's why they changed it to call it the olive leaf.
Yes, it's good.
And just added more olive leaf to it.
Only one of its kind. I mean, almost everything else they make, somebody else makes one of as well. You know, there's Shiraz gins and yuzu gins and all sorts of other things. But this is the only olive leaf gin. Now, Luke is...
I'm going to make a proper martini.
What do you mean by a proper martini?
I mean, not a built martini.
Right.
Just a martini.
Right, okay.
We've got our nice mixing glass. You don't have to have a mixing glass. Any glass will do. We tend to use really thick glassware for this because if you're putting lots of ice in it, it gets really, really cold and the ice will stick to the glass. And if you try and like move the drink around, the glass will break.
Oh.
Yeah, because as it freezes, the ice will stick to the glass.
Oh, okay.
If it's really thin, because it conducts the cold so quickly that it sticks. And if you try
okay.
and break the ice off the glass,
You break the glass.
the glass will shatter.
That'd be boring.
Yeah.
'Cause you lose your
Oh,
gin.
it's just,
Okay.
and you lose whatever, everything's a mess.
So you don't have to do it in this quantity at home because there's three of us. There might
Oh,
be three of you.
I'm making one martini.
Between three of us.
Just so that we're
So
doing a normal martini recipe.
So we've got 2
shots of gin, and this is the most classic current form of martini. Traditional martini is about half and half vermouth, half gin.
The next one's gin.
This is a dry martini, not an extra dry or a bone dry. And I always start out like this, and then if you want to add more to it, you can. Does that make sense?
You're not adding that to the gin?
No.
Oh, okay.
So this is something that I learnt, and you learn as a bartender. The vermouth is all about the texture. So,
And particularly this one because it's quite oily. So this.
and also, and vermouth is anywhere up to 14% ABV. It's
Up to 18.
up to 18% ABV, but usually around between 10 and 14 for a white vermouth. By the time you're putting
This one's 15.
by the time you're putting very little into a cocktail, you don't need to dilute that. Like, there's no, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
there's not much point in diluting
Right.
the vermouth, particularly when its purpose is to bring texture. So what we do is we like put a little bit in the glass, and it's a lot easier with a martini glass, but we kind of like try and coat the inside of the glass
Okay, I get
as
it.
much as you can.
Yep.
And then
Oh, you put the ice in there. I put the ice in here.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Oh, I get
what
it.
we do is we use that to
Oh,
chill down the
that's
glass. So if you've ever like made an ice bucket and put water in the bottom, it's the same
Yes.
Yeah.
theory. You use the vermouth to actually
Spread the...
spread the cool. Ooh. That can be my one. Okay. And then it's also easier to coat the inside of the glass.
Yeah.
And the general idea is that you kind of just do all of this first.
Right.
Get everything as cold as you can.
Yeah.
And then my number one rule is the last thing you do in a martini is put the ice into the spirit.
Right.
Because at that point you start dilution.
Right.
And the longer we do that,
The more dilute.
we're just going to get a watery drink.
Which we don't want.
The point is, it's a spirit forward drink. It should taste like spirit.
Right.
We're using ice, get it really, really, really freaking cold. But that is it. So, like, don't put your ice in first. Put it in after the spirit.
Right. Okay.
Because it will just melt and you'll have a pool.
All learning.
Pool of water at the bottom. Anyway, so...
And then these go in here.
No.
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 I'm confused.
Ooh. And the general rule is, when in doubt, put more ice in. And we're using I use a bar spoon because it's easiest to spin it.
You do it with a chopstick or whatever.
A chopstick is actually ideal. The main idea is stir it really fast, stir it really constantly. You actually don't want to mix, agitate it. You want to spin it as fast as you can so that
So it's centrifugal.
So that the gin is running over the ice as much as possible without actually shaking up the gin and getting oxygen into it. And because then it will start to evaporate, really.
Right.
So
it's not shaken or stirred, it's spun.
no, it's what's called stir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Mesmerising. I can watch people make their drinks all day.
And we tend to go for between 30 and 60 seconds, depending on how fast you stir it and how much is in the glass.
What are you going to do with the gumper? I think it's to start the ice bucket at the end.
Yeah. So we generally tip it out. That's why we don't put too much vermouth in, because you're going to tip it out anyway. And if you're putting olives on a stick, what I tend to do is pour that out over the olives, and then you're pouring vermouth onto the olives. And all the little holes in the olives where they've been pitted will pick up bits of vermouth and stuff. But anyway.
Okay.
I haven't used this glass in a while. Can you pass me the other glass so I'm not spilling everything? Thank you.
This one's a bit short. Excuse me.
The one thing we also learnt working at Wig Cellar is promotional cocktail equipment
Not very good.
is not professional barware, right? So there's really
Which is a real shame because we have masses.
this really gorgeous mixing glass, looks gorgeous, but the spout when you pour it dribbles absolutely everywhere. Anyway, there you go.
Now what,
And
garnish?
we don't put any more vermouth in it than that.
So this is like a normal standard dry martini. That's it, where we are.
Okay.
I'm still going to choose my garnish afterwards, and if I want more vermouth, I can still add more afterwards. So, on the nose,
No, that's brilliant.
still olive leafy. You can still smell the alcohol. Doesn't smell watery.
You can smell the gin, but it doesn't smell like that gin. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I can smell the olive leaf gin, but it doesn't smell like it's only gin. Like I can tell there's something else going on.
Well, the other thing is that, you know, when we taste gin and we put a block of ice in it and we say that the texture's changed.
Oh, that's delicious.
That's kind of what all of that is about. Like,
That is just the best martini I've had in a long time. No, good work, you. That's yum.
You should do this for a living.
Ah!
and if you want to know why I haven't been at the tastings, it's because I do this for a living. Anyway, cheers to the martini tasting.
Cheers to the martini tasting. I don't actually want a garnish in that, I don't think.
This is the other thing, is that something like the olive leaf, it already has
Plenty of stuff.
olive in it.
I think if I put an olive in that now, I would lose the vermouth.
Cut a little bit of lemon, please.
Well, this is...
Now we're going to agree on things again.
Oh, God, 3 times in a row. I'm
know.
going to take a lottery ticket. That's unreal.
Well, this is actually what I...
Unreal lemon
We've got a
peel.
climate reduction target agreed. We've agreed on lemon. It's a bit weird.
This is, like, coming on to what I think is my favourite perfect martini, which is a little bit of olive brine, but
Right.
no olive.
Okay.
So I do olive brine and lemon peel.
Right.
And I think that gives me salty and acid at the same time.
Oh, that's sensational. Yeah, you've knocked it, Luke.
So there should be oil from the vermouth, there should be salt from the olive, and there should be acid from the lemon.
So you think we should have a drop of brine in there? Is that what
I
you
don't
want to
think
do?
it needs it.
I don't think it needs it either.
I don't think it needs it because a lot of that stuff is already in there. With like
But if we tasted a non-olive.
something's like a London dry gin.
Yeah.
Oh, some olive brine. I get it.
Just a dash of olive brine. And
To
I
get
put
the olive and the salty bit.
yeah, and I put that in with the gin because that really salty olive brine can be diluted. So it's not just
Yeah.
like you're not getting
Got it.
a bit of saltiness on the rim of your glass or whatever.
Yeah, no.
Wow, that's great.
Oh, that's really good with lemon actually.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And it doesn't taste
Awesome.
watery, but it doesn't taste like
No.
Battery
delicious.
cleaner.
Has anybody got any questions?
battery cleaner. That's a good point. Yum.
Yum.
I haven't had a
Delicious.
martini in a little while, so that's making me very happy.
Making me very happy. I've been working like a crazy thing.
Likewise.
Very nice.
Mm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheers. Now, I could tell you what gins we were going to have next month, but that would be telling. Because cheating.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll announce them instead. So you'll just have to wait. Little tenterhooks.
Yeah.
Not sure.
In the next week or so, I think.
Yes. No, in the next week, definitely. And then we are away for September, but we will have a tasting just before we go. And then
Which is
we'll
the
Hang on,
genius.
Lisa Carey's asking if she puts olive brine in, how much should she put in?
Generally, a dirty martini is like depends on how dirty you want it. I would start with something like half a teaspoon
Yeah.
and work your way
You
up.
can always add more, but you can't
Yeah.
get it
You
out.
can't take it out, yeah.
That's the other thing too, is like make your martini, and that's why we did the tasting like this, where we kind of build the flavors and work out what we want.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you're making martinis at home, you've got a whole bottle of gin, you're bound to keep using that same gin.
Yes.
So like put a little bit of olive brine in,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
most
I think also
a
I
normal
would-
dirty martini would be 2 teaspoons, which
Right.
is a bar spoon is 2 teaspoons.
Right.
But you want to
A
start
properly
with
dirty
but
martini.
you want to start with half a teaspoon just to taste it.
Yeah,
See
work your
what
way
you
up.
like. Yeah.
And then like a proper dirty martini, most bars make with 2 bar spoons. A really dirty martini is 3, and then you go on to what's called a filthy, which is like 4,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
or what we call the Anna Nicole. Because that was
Right,
the
yes.
the old joke.
Yeah.
How dirty do you like your martini? Do you like it Christina Aguilera or Amy Winehouse? And someone once said to me, I want Anna Nicole. As in Anna Nicole Smith. So
Fair enough. I also think that actually this way of doing things, I mean, I know we do it because we're doing tastings and we also have to drive home from a secret location and do all of that other stuff.
I don't.
But I actually think it's a good way of finding out what you like as a flavour before you chew up an enormous amount of gin
Yeah.
with something you don't particularly like.
Yeah.
Anyway, taste on. Come back to us.
Yeah.
Send us comments. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, what was your favourite martini.
And if
how you
anyone's
liked
got
it.
an interesting spin on their martini, let us know.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
obviously we've only really ventured into sort of 2 garnishes, but there is a plethora of things.
Cocktail onion? What's your thoughts?
Oh,
Oh, a cocktail onion, aka a Gibson.
Yeah.
Really good. Really, really good. Because it's like acid, that really like tart acid flavour.
yeah.
Can be really, really refreshing when it's really, really cold.
Okay. My jury's out on that one.
Sometimes the only time I'll have a vodka martini is traditional bison grass vodka.
Yeah, I get that.
Which is that green botanical flavour that you want from
But then also that's vodka
And-
that has flavour.
and a lime peel.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And it's just like,
Nice. Okay.
so yeah, if you've got any
Anyway,
Zabrovka around,
There you
get
are.
into it.
Apologies that we don't have next month to tell you, but we'll sort that out very shortly and get on to you. So let us know if you want to buy any of these and we can deliver those. And if anybody wants to get involved in Gin Club, if you think of anybody else who wants to do anything else, let us know. They can send us all the usual numbers. I will let you guys sign off while I sign off.
Well, hold on. I'm working on venues for our Negroni off.
Okay, I'll tell them, not me.
Yeah, well, we mentioned a Negroni off, which is still foremost in my brain. But I'm just going to find the right venue for it, so I'm still having fun with that. So once I get the venue right, well, we're off and racing.
Fabulous. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming to our martini tasting. Hope you've enjoyed it.
And thanks for having me again.
Thanks for coming
thank
back.
you, Luke. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye,
Cheers,
guys.
everybody.